Hello, welcome to the video lecture on arrays. In the present lecture, we are going to learn about what is an array, structure of an array, types of an array, declaration of one-dimensional array, accessing the elements of an array, initialization of one-dimensional array, input-output operations on one-dimensional array. An array is a kind of data structure that can store a fixed size of sequential collection of elements of the same type. The features are: it is a kind of data structure, consists of fixed size of elements, all elements are in sequential order, all elements are of same data type, all elements are accessed by a single variable name. All arrays consist of contiguous memory locations. Now, this is the way how we can visualize an array structure. The lowest address corresponds to the first element and the highest address to the last element in an array of contiguous memory locations. Numbers 0, 1, 2, etc. are the elements of the array, and each block has some address and all are represented by an index. Now, let us look into the types of the array. Array are classified as two types: one-dimensional array, two-dimensional array. But however, two-dimensional array is a part of multi-dimensional array. If an array is described by only one subscript, it is known as one-dimensional array. If an array is described by more than one subscript, then they are said to be multi-dimensional arrays, and two-dimensional array is a special case of multi-dimensional array. Now, as a part of programming, how to deal with the arrays. First point is how to declare an array. An array is declared by the following syntax: data type, array name, and array size. Here an example is given. Data type is float, array name is mark, and array size is 5. Thus, on an array name, we can store 5 elements of the float data type. Now, how to access the array of elements? The elements of an array are accessed by two things. One is array name and second is index. Along with the array name, if the index is shown in the square bracket, then depending upon the index, that element can be accessed. For example, mark 1 means an element with mark 1 can be accessed. If you put mark 0, the element mark 0 is accessed. Arrays have 0 as the first index, not 1. In this example, mark 0 is the first element. If the size of the array is n, the access the last element, the n-1 index is used. In this example, marks 4. Now, how to initialize an array? Initialization means storing the elements of the array in the memory. For that, the syntax is like this: data type, array name, size, assignment operator, in the curly braces, the list of the values separated by commas. For example, int marks 5 means marks 0, marks 1, marks 2, marks 3, marks 4 as shown here. Now, this assignment operator assigns these values one after another as per the index. For example, as the index starts with 0, mark 0 corresponds to 19 and therefore 19 is stored in the memory. Similarly, marks 1 corresponds to 10 and 10 is stored in the memory. Similarly, 8 is stored against marks 2 and so on other numbers also. So thus here we can see how the elements and corresponding values are mapped by initializing the array. This is known as compile time initialization. Now, another method of initialization is runtime initialization. In runtime initialization, the values are inputted through the standard input device during the execution of the program. For that, here we are declaring a array of name values and size is 5 and its data type is int, means values 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 are the elements. Now, first we have to insert the values into the array, and that can be done by runtime environment statement called scanf. So for that, as we are storing the elements one by one after another, we have to use a for loop. So we have taken for int I is equal to 0, I is less than 5, I plus plus, and when this for loop is iterated, one by one we input the values through the keyboard, and all these values are stored in the memory against the array values of size 5. Now, once the values are stored in the memory, we can display on the screen by using another for loop, incorporating the printf statement with values I. As whenever this array index is taken and it is iterated with I is equal to 0 to I is less than 5, one by one all the values are printed. Now in this output we are observing that -3, 34, 0, 3 are the input values that we have given for values 5, and after storing, when we are printing on the screen, those same values are printed on the screen. So thus, by using the runtime environment, we can perform input-output operations on a one-dimensional array. Now here, another example is also shown. What we are taking is that int marks 10 is the declaration of an array. I, n, sum are the integer values, and in this program we are calculating the sum and average of the give n number of values. So that means we have to select an array. In that we have to put n elements, and one by one we have to read each element, and we have to sum up each element, and finally we have to calculate sum, and by dividing with the size of the array we can find out the array average. That is the logic. So now the logic is implemented like this. Int marks 10, and now first we give the size of the array, that is n, or number of elements, that is n. After n is given, the size is known for us. Then starting with I is equal to 0, I is less than I plus plus, every time we enter a number, and that number will be stored against the marks I for I is equal to 0 to less than n, that is n minus 1. Now, during the each process, what happened that initially we took sum is equal to 0. Here sum is equal to sum plus marks. So 0 plus mark I means mark 0. That is the word of the first value we have given. That is the value. And during the iteration, the values are automatically summed up to the previous sum. By completion of the entire iterations of the loop, we come out with the total sum of all the elements. Now, here in this expression, we can calculate the average. Now we can print average, and the program is terminated. Now if the data is given like this, we have given n is equal to 5 elements, and the values are 45, 35, 38, 31, 49, then average becomes 39. Thus in the present video we have learned what is an array, structure of array, types of an arrays, declaration of one-dimensional array, accessing the elements of an array, initialization of one-dimensional array, input-output operations on one-dimensional array. Thank you all.